He spent his entire youth running away from his limitations, chasing a grand illusion of absolute control. In a single brief second, the doctor's heavy words shattered his identity, leaving him stranded in a dark world where his body felt like an enemy. The silence of his room wasn't peaceful. It was a suffocating room of regrets, where his mind repeated the painful memory of his failure. To build something new, he had to completely abandon the ghost of his past, accepting that the old running track was gone forever. He decided to take a dangerous gamble, a total exile into the rugged mountains, to find a strength that didn't depend on trophies. He arrived at the edge of the wild, a harsh land of stone and wind that doesn't care about your past records. Every single step forward was a physical battle against his damaged body. His breathing was heavy, loud, and full of raw strain. The old trainer gave him a simple rule: stop trying to run. First, learn how to stand firmly against the heavy weight. The performance anxiety returned like a ghost. He looked at the iron, wondering if his broken frame was strong enough to survive. He failed on the very first attempt. His muscles screamed in panic, but the old trainer just pointed down at the bar. It wasn't a perfect lift, and it wasn't a victory. But it was the first time in months he fought back. He found a quiet home in the valley. No critics, no noise, no expectations, just the rhythmic sound of the water. Clarity didn't come from deep meditation. It came from mapping his daily physical effort, turning his pain into structured numbers. He spent his mornings doing heavy labor that left no room for overthinking, chopping wood, carrying stones, and rebuilding his base. He threw away the old illusions. He started structuring his mind like a stone wall. Let his thoughts become stable. The real training happened in the dark. No audience, no applause, just a silent witness watching him face his boundaries. He didn't stop to celebrate. He immediately stepped forward and flipped it again, turning his old fear into pure momentum. Panic was entirely gone, replaced by the deep satisfaction of physical discipline. He was finally controlling his inner storm. Winter locked him in the mountains. The trails were completely buried, forcing him to find a deeper layer of resilience. He stopped running from the cold silence. He sat directly in it, realizing that the quiet mind is an unshakable shield. His digital anxiety was completely dead. He no longer missed the noise of the city, and he was fully present right here. He began to respect his physical scars, realizing they were not signs of old damage, but proof of his reconstruction. He started running again, but he wasn't chasing a gold medal anymore. He was just running to feel the earth. Every single workout was a heavy contract with himself, a physical declaration that he would never accept defeat again. The trainer didn't smile, but he slowly put the watch away and nodded. But the old alliance was sealed in sweat. The sky gave him a spectacular show of cosmic beauty, reminding him that true strength exists in harmony with nature. Spring returned to the valley, bringing a clean clarity. The mountains had done their job. It was time to go back. He wasn't returning to the city as a broken athlete. He was returning as an anchor of absolute stability. He left the wild valley behind, but he carried the heavy discipline of the iron deep within his soul. The modern city was exactly the same, loud, frantic, and distracted. But he was completely different inside. The trophies no longer defined his value. They were just old metal markers of a past chapter he had survived. He built a strict boundary around his new life, ensuring the frantic rush of the city would never invade him. True mastery over your pain arrives when you use it to protect others. He wanted to teach them resilience. He didn't talk about winning races. He talked about building a strong foundation, a physical shield against the hard world. He looked for the broken ones, the ones who felt invisible, and he gave them a heavy bar to lift. The yard became a sanctuary of effort. They were learning a physical truth, that discipline is the highest form of freedom. The city didn't feel oppressive anymore, because he carried an inner mountain inside his mind, an absolute stillness anywhere. You are capable of more than you think. Let's focus on this together.
Okay, if you say so.
The digital ocean was still roaring outside, but inside his heart, there was nothing but the safety of a quiet mind. He redirected his professional life toward healing, using his experience to rebuild the bodies of people who had lost hope. Every weekend became a return to the iron path, a conscious choice to step out of the frantic signal. He learned to trust the physical steps he took, grounding his entire life in things that had weight and consequence. He found a perfect daily balance, working in the noisy city, but belonging to the timeless earth. The mountain trail wasn't crowded, and it didn't come with applause, but every step felt completely real and meaningful. He wrote down his final definition. True power is not speed, it is the absolute stability of a soul that refused to break. He had survived the long, painful injury. He had conquered the dark room of depression, and he stood completely free. His home was no longer a cage of anxiety. It was a space of quiet strength, a physical reflection of intention. He fell asleep in perfect harmony with his body. The old nightmares were gone. His mind was a quiet fort. Don't let a sudden injury steal your identity away. Disconnect from the fear and rebuild your foundation from the dirt. He knew his mission was bigger than his own recovery. The next generation was struggling with a silent epidemic of anxiety. He didn't offer them cheap platitudes. He gave them a simple truth, that your greatest strength is forged in discomfort. The message hit its target perfectly. A sudden spark of raw determination was lit in a young, vulnerable heart. Measure your inner growth.
Thank you.
And this is your training log.
You've inspired me.
He taught them how to embrace the heavy resistance, showing them that weight is just a tool to discover who you are. Keep it up, everyone. We're almost there. Thanks, I needed that. You're doing great, team. Fresh air never felt so good. He had built a physical network of raw survival, turning his old athletic passion into a fortress of social architecture. Keep practicing.
Check this out.
Nice.
Thanks.
That's how it's done. He became a respected voice of raw balance in a culture of distraction, a living proof of physical truth. He knew the modern world would always be chaotic and demanding, but he was no longer afraid of the heavy storm. He had reclaimed his body. He had reclaimed his time. He had reclaimed the sovereignty of his own human soul. Every weekend, he returned directly to the rocks, reminding himself that the greatest machine ever created is the human frame. He learned to appreciate the gravity. He learned to love the resistance, finding that true freedom exists in the effort. The story of his reconstruction was no longer a secret battle. It was a clear path that anyone could follow. He had survived the long exile. He had conquered the injury, and he had come back completely whole and unshakable. He had won the war for his own mind. He was no longer a victim of his past. He was a master. The road ahead was completely clear. There were no ghosts to track him. Just the open potential of his life. He built a life that didn't need external validation. A life where the highest reward was pure inner stability. The volume of his old anxieties was permanently closed. The fresh page of his future was entirely open for him. Never let a broken chapter define your entire story. Step out onto the iron path and build your masterpiece. Keep going. You're almost there.
We're running fast.
That's it. Follow me. He gave them the ultimate gift, belief in their own endurance. He stood by them as a silent wall of support. The race began, a beautiful explosion of youthful energy, and Stick knew his old chasm was completely healed. The victory belonged to the community. The long cycle of pain had finally been transformed into a beautiful, shared triumph. The loud cheers faded into a deep, internal peace. He didn't need the spotlight anymore. His heart was full. He walked through the city, his spirit completely light. The iron path had led him exactly where he belonged. Every moment was an unscripted opportunity to create. He was capturing the beauty of a world he had claimed. Good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely day. The city below was a vast ocean of motion. But inside his room, there was nothing but absolute mental clarity. He was finally awake to his true existence. The darkness was no longer a threat. It was just a canvas. He ran without the heavy burden of expectation. He had traveled 1,000 miles through the dark valley, only to find that the morning was always waiting. The old rules of perfection were gone. His life was now an open journal, written in steps of pure discipline. He stepped into his work with deep joy, turning his personal survival into a daily standard of care for others. He had conquered the fear of limitation. He had won the long battle for his own mind. And he was free. The space was a physical testament to recovery, a monument to what happens when you refuse to let an injury define you. You're doing great. Keep going, just one more step.
Thank you. I can do this.
The journey of self-reconstruction was complete. He was no longer escaping the storm. He was successfully walking right through it. He learned to appreciate the gravity, the heavy weights, and the hard trails, finding that true safety grows from within. Every single moment was a clean page, a beautiful opportunity to stand tall and feel entirely glad to be alive. The old paralysis was entirely dead and buried. The silence in his mind was a vast, open playground of potential. He joined his community, stepping directly into the warmth of shared lives, finding that true strength is built together.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
I can't believe you told that story. Just sharing a little bit of joy. It's perfect here. The book of his old failures was permanently shut. The blank page of his future was waiting. And he was ready. Never let a broken chapter keep you from finishing your book. Rebuild your foundation, trust the iron path, and become a masterpiece.